The internet wants you to believe that retiring early is a privilege reserved for six-figure tech bros who cash out at 30. That's a myth, and it's a myth designed to keep you feeling stuck. In the next few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to a teacher, a mechanic, and a nurse who all achieved financial freedom before 50 without ever writing a single line of code. Their stories aren't about getting rich, they're about getting free. And they reveal a path to early retirement that's open to way more of us than we've been led to believe. Let's be honest. When you scroll through social media or watch videos about early retirement, what do you see? It's usually 24-year-old software engineers at FAANG companies making $300,000 a year. You see articles about coders who hustled for 5 years, lived in a van, and then cashed out with millions in stock options. It's a compelling story. It's also incredibly discouraging for everyone else. This narrative tells us that financial freedom is a prize you can only win if you have the golden ticket of a tech salary. It creates this quiet sense of hopelessness for the rest of us. The teachers, the electricians, the project managers, the nurses, people with normal jobs and normal salaries. We're led to believe our only option is to grind it out until we're 65 and just hope for the best. That the 9 to 5 is a life sentence unless you're a genius who can build the next big app. I used to believe that too. I'd look at my own paycheck, then at the astronomical numbers people were throwing around online, and the math just didn't add up. It felt like I was running a marathon while they were flying a private jet to the finish line. The constant message was, either get a tech job or give up on the dream. But what if that entire message is wrong? What if the loudest voices aren't telling the whole story? Because they're not. The real story of financial independence isn't just happening in Silicon Valley. It's happening in quiet suburban neighborhoods, in small towns, and in the lives of people you'd never expect. What if the American dream was never about getting rich, but about getting free? This is the fundamental mindset shift that changes everything. The goal isn't a specific number in a bank account. The goal is owning your time. It's the freedom to wake up on a Tuesday morning and decide what you want to do with your day without asking a boss for permission. It's the ability to walk away from a toxic work environment because you can, not because you have to find another job immediately. It's about having a life that isn't dictated by the need to earn a paycheck. This kind of freedom isn't reserved for millionaires. It's achieved by understanding a simple, powerful truth. Financial independence is less about the size of your income and more about the size of your savings rate. The real barrier isn't your job title. It's the gap between what you earn and what you spend. While the modern FIRE movement, financial independence retire early, is popular with tech workers, its core ideas came from people in all walks of life. It was built on the principle that spending less is often a more powerful tool than earning more. And the proof is in the stories of the people who are actually doing it, people who look a lot more like you and me. Let's talk about Sarah, a high school history teacher. For years, she felt trapped. She loved teaching, but the burnout was real, and she didn't think she could sustain the pace for another 30 years. Her salary was around $60,000, a respectable income, but nowhere near tech level. Then she stumbled upon a simple concept. You don't need to be a tech bro to retire early, you need to be a savings bro. She learned that while most financial advice suggests saving 15% of your income for a traditional retirement, the key to retiring early is saving aggressively, often 50% or more. While saving 50% is a huge challenge and isn't possible for everyone, Sarah decided to make a plan. She didn't start living on rice and beans. Instead, she optimized her 3 biggest expenses: housing, transportation, and food. She moved to a slightly smaller apartment closer to her school, cutting her rent and eliminating her car payment and insurance by biking to work. She became intentional about meal prepping. Within a year, by focusing on these big wins, she went from saving 10% of her income to saving nearly 50%. Her savings rate became her superpower. She wasn't earning more. She was keeping more. And every dollar she kept was a dollar buying her freedom. Then there's Dave, a mechanic who spent his 20s feeling like he was drowning in debt. He had student loans, a hefty truck payment, and a credit card balance that never seemed to shrink. He was making good money, but it felt like it all belonged to someone else. His aha moment came when he calculated how much he was paying in interest each year, money he was just lighting on fire. He became obsessed with a priority that financial experts agree is critical: debt elimination. For average earners, high-interest debt is a huge anchor weighing you down. Dave sold his expensive truck and bought a reliable, used sedan for cash. He picked up extra shifts and threw every spare dollar at his highest-interest credit card first. For 3 years, his social life took a backseat to his financial goals. It was intense, but he paid off his last student loan on his 34th birthday. He described the feeling not as sacrifice, but as liberation. For the first time, his entire paycheck was his own. Finally, let's look at Maria, a nurse who retired from her high-stress hospital job at 48. Her strategy was different. She focused on creating income streams. She bought a small duplex, lived in one unit, and rented out the other. The rental income covered her entire mortgage and property taxes. This strategy, known as house hacking, effectively eliminated her biggest monthly expense. With her housing costs gone, she was able to max out her retirement accounts, like her 401k and a Roth IRA, every single year. This approach is what some call a fast version of FIRE. Instead of just building a giant nest egg, you build small, passive cash flow streams that cover your living costs. Maria didn't need to save $2 million for retirement because her baseline living expenses were already covered. Her nursing salary was purely for savings and discretionary spending. She didn't just retire, she built a life that paid for itself. Sarah, Dave, and Maria aren't unicorns. They didn't win the lottery. They simply used a repeatable blueprint that has nothing to do with working in tech. First, find your freedom number. The classic 4% rule of thumb suggests you need to save about 25 times your annual expenses. So if you spend $40,000 a year, your target is $1 million. For a bigger margin of safety, especially for a longer retirement, some advisors suggest a more conservative target of 30 or even 33 times your expenses. Don't let that number scare you. The key is understanding that you control the size of that number by controlling your spending. Second, become a savings bro. This is the most important part. The reason a high savings rate can beat a high income is pure math. Someone earning $150,000 who saves 15% is putting away $22,500 a year. But a person earning just $50,000 who saves 50% is putting away $25,000 a year. Your goal is to invert the classic 50-30-20 budget. Instead of saving 20%, see how close you can get to saving 50%. Third, create a debt demolition plan. As Dave's story shows, you can't build wealth while you're actively paying for the past. List your debts from highest interest rate to lowest. Attack the top one with everything you've got while making minimum payments on the others. Once it's gone, roll that payment into the next one. Becoming debt-free is like giving yourself an immediate and permanent raise. Fourth, maximize your tools. You don't need a tech job to access powerful investment accounts. Max out your employer's 401k match. It's free money. Then work on funding a Roth IRA. For 2024, the contribution limit is $7,000, or $8,000 if you're 50 or older. Those limits tend to increase over time, so always check the current year's rules with the IRS. If you have a qualifying high-deductible health plan, an HSA or health savings account can be a triple tax-advantaged retirement powerhouse. At this point, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but let's tackle those fears head-on. Won't I be bored in retirement? Early retirement isn't about doing nothing forever, unless you want to. For many, it's about semi-retirement. It's the freedom to work a part-time job you actually enjoy, start a small business, or dedicate time to a passion project. The goal is to escape the obligation to work, not productivity itself. What about healthcare? This is a critical question. If you retire before you're 65 and eligible for Medicare, you'll need to buy private health insurance, likely through the federal marketplace. Depending on your household income in retirement, you may qualify for subsidies to lower the cost. An HSA is also incredibly valuable here, as you can use that tax-free money for deductibles, co-pays, and other out-of-pocket medical costs. You can even use it for certain premiums, like for COBRA, or if you're collecting unemployment, but typically not for standard marketplace plans. But what if I run out of money? This is where the 4% rule comes in. The idea, based on historical market data, is that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio in your first year of retirement, and then adjust that amount for inflation each year after. Following this guideline has historically given retirees a high probability of their money lasting for 30 years or more. It's not an ironclad guarantee, but it's a solid framework to build a plan around. The tech bro retirement narrative is a fantasy for most and makes everyone else feel like their reality is inescapable. It's not. Financial freedom isn't an exclusive club. It's a choice available to anyone with the discipline to prioritize it. It's for the teacher who decides her time is more valuable than a bigger apartment. It's for the mechanic who's done paying interest to banks. And it's for the nurse who saw a path to freedom by turning her home into an asset. The path is simple, but it isn't easy. It requires you to redefine what rich means to you. Is it a fancy car and a big house? Or is it control over your calendar? Is it a high salary? Or is it a high savings rate that buys your life back, $1 at a time? If this video resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more stories that challenge the mainstream narrative about money. And I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. What does getting free look like for you?